Hello and welcome to today's quick training. This is Troy Broussard and I'm going to show you how to use simple content marketing strategies to get tons of rankings and traffic within the search engines. Now, it's not hard, but there is a blueprint you need to follow, so let's walk through that. The simple truth is that more content equals more rankings. Larger sites with larger content and more posting frequency will bring in the traffic. So your content footprint in Google says a lot about your site's relevancy and its authority. So just think of it this way. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have a fishing hook, or would you rather have a net that just ropes in the fish by the boatload? Right? It's really pretty obvious. If you're trying to fish for a customer one at a time as opposed to casting a wide net and bringing in a whole boatload full at once, that's the approach you want to take. Well, think of every piece of content that you publish on your site as a fishing hook. And if you publish a whole bunch of content and you build up a wide site footprint within Google, then what you've done is cast this wide net to bring in many more fish as opposed to just trying to laser target with just a little bit of content. And that's really the philosophy behind this. Now, the very first step is you have a blog, right? Okay, that's a rhetoric question because the correct answer is yes. If you do not have a blog, do not pass go, do not collect $200. You need to have a blog. And honestly, there's no reason to look any further than WordPress. WordPress is by far the dominant player in the marketplace. There are thousands of plugins and themes and developers that you can hire to customize it. I really look to create every single site on WordPress as a platform by default, and I don't recommend you go anywhere else than that. If you do not have a blog on your site, no matter what type of niche you're in, even if you're in a widget manufacturing niche, you still need to have a blog, and you still need to have relevant and frequently posted content. And you can do that with news content and events and conferences and seminars that are coming up and talking about. There's all kinds of ways if you get creative here, and we'll go into that in just a minute. Now, unfortunately, in the Google world, size does matter. So this is the truth, and you need to learn to swim upstream. And you need to go beyond what minimalist marketing will teach you. Minimalist marketing is just doing the bare minimum effort expecting to have extraordinary results, and you're not going to get that. You're simply not going to get extraordinary traffic from minimalist marketing. So you need to swim upstream a little bit and do what 95% of the other people are unwilling to do, and that is post larger, high quality content. Now, I teach this because it's something that I do and because it's something that works. We rarely post content below 1,000 words when we write blog posts. Now, we have some exceptions to that, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But when it comes to creating quality, engaging content for our subscribers and readers, the content is rarely below 1,000 words. And frequently we post very large, 2,500, even 5,000 word plus posts. Very large, very authority-driven content that is tremendously valuable, has a great set of resources and free tips and information, and really not only sucks in the traffic, but it pulls your user. It's engaging, it brings them into your site and gives them a lot of value, and that's really critical. Frequency also matters, so posting 2 to 3 times a week as a minimum is something that we recommend. Now, if you take this to the next level, you'll be posting much more frequently than that, and I'll show you how you can do that and not be a slave to your computer keyboard as well. Building relevancy and authority with Google, as well as your site footprint and traffic, is just one of the big benefits of posting frequently. As you are posting more and more content about your niche, then it's obvious to Google that you have something to say about your niche, that you are relevant in that topic. And clearly you're an authority on that topic because you do have a lot to say and you're publishing a lot of content about it. and that has a huge impact with Google. It also creates a large footprint in the Google index because you get a lot more content published on your site and you have a lot more posts and pages. Your site is bigger, and that signifies better in Google's minds. Now, you can't put out garbage content. You need to put out high quality content, but it will bring in more long tail rankings on your keywords and more traffic because of it. So frequency as well as size both matter. Now let's take a look at the anatomy of a quality post. You want to use your primary keyword in the URL. This is something that's done very easily with WordPress. You just have to change a setting in the permalinks section of WordPress, and if you're not familiar with that, you can just Google the word permalinks and WordPress. You want to use your primary keyword in the title of your post. Now, I say use it, not make it the title of your post. So if your post is about dog training, you don't want to just name your post dog training. That is something that Google will look at as a spammy technique of just trying to target a keyword. However, you can use the word dog training in your title, preferably at the beginning of your title. You have to make up your mind what your keywords are when you begin to write your content and design your titles and design your URL around that. If you use WordPress, most of this is automated for you. When you set the title, it will automatically set the URL. Now just write naturally, and it really is that simple. In the old days, so to speak, so prior to all the panda and penguin nonsense, you could really aggressively target your on-site SEO, and all that means is just you could really stuff the hell out of the keywords and really try to dial in the optimization of your content for Google. You do not want to do that today. So don't try to stuff the keyword throughout your content, and don't stuff it into the image and alt tags everywhere. This stuff no longer works, and beyond just not working, it can actually cause you problems and get your content to not rank at all and hurt your site with penalties because it looks manipulative to Google, and it clearly is manipulative. So we do not encourage that in any way, shape, or form. Just do the ABC's basics here. Get the URL and the title right with your keyword, and then write naturally. And when you write naturally, you'll naturally use the title, your keyword, a few times in your content, and you'll also naturally use different synonyms and related topics in content, and all of that will just work itself into the content, all without you really having to plan for it, especially if you follow the guidelines here and write large quality content, because the larger content will naturally encourage you to use more synonyms and more ways of referencing the same topic, and that will bring you the long tail traffic. One of the big mistakes that people make is go out there and just write these little 500-word articles, and there's just not enough meat to them. And the problem beyond that is that it looks cookie cutter. It looks like exactly what it is, like you went out and bought, 100 articles at 500 words, and that just doesn't look natural to Google. If you study the way bloggers present their site and write for their site, sometimes their posts are short, sometimes they're long, sometimes they're excessively long. And so you want a good mixture of that to present that natural profile to Google. Alright, so now that we've got some of the basics out of the way, let's give you some tips to turbocharge your results and kick them into high gear. So let's take a look at some things that we can do. First of all is create some pillar content. Now, what I mean by pillar content is something that if you were going to only put 3 posts on your entire site and you were going to feature these as this is the best of my work, then these pillar posts are what you would want to feature. So you want to put your heart and soul into creating a really good killer blog post, and do that once or maybe twice a month, okay? But this is not a trivial endeavor. You're not going to sit down and do this in 40 minutes time. You should dedicate 2 or 3 days to writing this article, and it should be substantial. Now, substantial doesn't necessarily mean epic in size, but it does mean that it should have some very strong connections with people. So sometimes you can accomplish that just by having really catchy titles and really good quality information, and the article doesn't have to be that large. But many times you'll need to give a lot of information to really draw people in. And focus on great content, providing tons of value, and a very catchy title. Okay, you want to suck people in. And so things like 127 ways to blah. It's not trivial, right? If you're going to list out 127 ways to do something, that's going to create a big post. But it's also impressive. It's epic. It sucks people in. They want to see that because they're like, holy cow, how the heck can you do this 127 different ways? Ryan is famous for doing that in some of his posts. And those are the types of things that you want to do. That's what we refer to as pillar content. Another great way to beef up your results and get them quicker with content marketing is using content aggregation. And content aggregation means that you find stories on other related sites in your niche and you quote and cite them. And when we say cite them, we're talking about a citation. We're saying you cite the reference and you link out to that site. It's very important. You're going to put exact copied, quoted content into your post. And so if you don't give proper citation and reference it to the original URL where it's published and link out to it, then you're stealing their content and violating the copyright. So it's very important. You can do ethically and totally legally quote their content, but you have to cite it and you have to link out to their content. Also, when you create this link, do not make it a no-follow link. You want to do follow that link. If you're not familiar with no-follow and do follow, just do a quick Google search on them and pull up some information or PM me for more details. But you want to pass authority outbound as well. And this will help your site by associating your site with higher quality sites in the niche as well. Wrap that quote with editorialized content and bring it to your readers. So what does this mean? This means that if you're writing, a 700-word post, that you probably only quoted maybe 100 words of it or maybe 200 words, and the rest is all unique, original content that's your perspective and your twist or your spin on that individual topic. So you're providing context and you're editorializing around somebody else's quotation or point that they have made in their own content. Now, a lot of people are afraid to do this because they think that they're pushing people off their site or that they're branding somebody else. And the reality is that's simply not true. Your readers don't expect you to have the answer to everything. They want to look at you as a source that they can trust. They want to look at you as somebody that can lead them to the solutions that they're looking for. And it doesn't mean that you always have to provide the solution. So what you'll find is that using these content aggregation or content curation strategies will in essence build your own authority by leveraging the authority and expertise of others in the industry. It not only does that with your readers, but it also does it with Google because you're associating your site with other sites of high quality, and that rubs off on your site as well. Some content aggregation tips is use Google Alerts to help you. A lot of people run into writer's block with this, and so they tell me there's nothing I can write about in my industry. And I've got to tell you, it doesn't matter what topic you are in. We have a client that has a screw factory. Yes, nuts and bolts and screws. That is their business. And yet we use content curation and aggregation on their site to bring them a lot of traffic because we find relevant news, events, seminars, and conferences, and new technologies and automation on the business end, all different types of related information about screws and processing and nuts and bolts and assembly line technologies, all of that stuff that is related and draws people in. It creates that larger net that we're casting for long tail keywords and more traffic. traffic. Using Google Alerts can really help you with that. You only want to reference high-quality authority sites. So you don't want to just go cite anybody on the internet. You want to cite high-quality sites and authority sites that are well respected in the industry. That's very important. You also want to keep your content related, and you don't want to go to your direct competitors when you start quoting. Clearly, you're going to be pushing some traffic off your site when you do this, so you don't want to send them to one of your direct competitors. But sending them to related content is something that you do need to do. So you can bring in some other parallel subjects or parallel areas, but try to keep it related and on topic for your reader base, and just be careful not to send them to direct competition. Lastly, this is a big tip and a big reason that content aggregation works so well, is that content aggregation can be outsourced and managed very, very easily. Because of the fact that you can quote and link to other sources, it's very easy for you as the site owner to provide the example quality articles that are relevant to your niche, and provide those to your outsourcers, and even provide the block of text that you want to use as the quotation. And when you do that, what you'll find is that you'll get a much higher caliber of quality writing than just asking an outsourced writer to write off the top of their head on a subject or a topic. It's much, much more difficult for them. But when you're providing them with a quality article already as a source to reference and giving them a quote for that, you can get very high quality content in return. And it's a great way for building up the content footprint on your site fairly easily and fairly affordably for those of you that are already into profit and can afford some of the outsourcing techniques. Create some small news blurbs. This is another great tip. You can also create like a category that says in the news or something to that extent, and post these small blurbs frequently, sometimes multiple times a day, of interesting content you find that's related to your niche. So let's say in the course of your day you come across these different sites that have some great related info, and you may even choose to create longer posts on this topic and quote them and do all of that we just talked about in the future. But for right now, you can just write a quick little summary, one paragraph, and link out to that and post it on your site. Now, when you do this, you want to position it properly on your site. You don't want to position this as your high-end quality content. So, for example, I look to not even publish it on the home page and just put it in the news category, so that you're building your content footprint and you're providing some good relevant information to people. But at the same time, this is kind of search engine fodder. It's not high quality content in the sense that it's not robust large post. It's quick little information. Almost think of it as a Twitter feed for your site. It's just a single paragraph of frequent post information. And the beauty is that you can outsource this very easily as well, and it helps you to increase your site footprint and the authority of your site as well, because once again you've got these outgoing links to these articles, and those are in your niche and associated high quality authority sites. Now, it's also very useful for your subscribers. People think that this is, again, something that doesn't help their users just for the search engines, but that's really not true. People want to see what's on your mind. They want to see other related news and information about the topic. If they're a real fan of your site and your niche, this will actually increase your traffic. It'll increase your site usability. People will get these. They'll subscribe to the RSS feeds. They'll come back to your site a couple of times a day. This is a very useful strategy. And then we can apply some other things to it to ramp it up even further. And let's talk about that. That is getting social with it. So you can tweet and like these little news blurbs that you're doing, and when you do, just tweet the actual destination URL where the person is going to go to the article. Don't tweet the site that you, or the post that you have put on your site, the little summary. Now, a lot of people think, well, that's just the opposite of what I want to do. I want the people to click through to my site. And you do, but you have to build that relationship with your Twitter followers as well as your Facebook fans And if you try to promote to your site endlessly, that discourages people from trusting you. So if instead in your social networking you just promote directly out to the links, then when you do promote your own quality content, your large posts, you'll get a much better response because people have seen that you've posted 15 or 20 other related great pieces of information to them before you started sending them back to your own site. So you want to tweet and like your own posts as well, but you want to mix it in with sending people other tidbits of information on other sites, and that's a great strategy for doing this. Now, keep in mind that you can also get really creative and outsource the vast majority of these little summary posts. You can automate the tweets and you can automate the likes for them. You can record an audio in 30 seconds of the paragraph and just attach it with a link to the post and send it off to a VA that has a role to post on your website. You can even send these via email to WordPress. WordPress can be configured to receive email and post automatically. So you can even type this into your email client and just hit send and have it send it right to your site and post it. So there are lots of tactics that you can make this very easy, manageable, and dramatically increase the footprint of your site, the authority of your site, the long tail keyword rankings, and the traffic that you'll get because of it. Lastly, I just wanted to give you a quick resource. This is a good article on using Google Alerts, and it's from me, so sorry about that. But this is a good little article I wrote on some usages for Google Alerts to help you finding topics and that type of stuff, and other neat ways of using Google Alerts on your site. So here's a quick link to it, ctcbiz.com, alerts. It's just a blog post, but rather than putting a big long link in there, I just put a redirect for you. There's nothing sinister going on there. It's just a free blog post. So, in summary, success is not an accident. This is something you need to embrace. People that are successful online are successful for a reason, and that's because they make a plan and they stick to it. If you look at Ryan Lee as an example, you'll see that he posts frequently and regularly on his blog, and he's building up the authority and content on his site. It's not an accident. So please embrace this mindset. Create a content marketing plan and then stick to it. And as Nike would say, just do it. Because that's what it really comes down to, taking action and making it happen. All right, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and got a lot out of it, and we'll see you on the forums.